It had been a morning of getting ready. Katie discovered that when you're in a hurry, sometimes even when you're hungry, you forget to eat. Orbie found out that if you find a really good place to hide something special, you just might have a lot of trouble remembering where it is. And Chance learned that when lots of family feet are racing around, the very best place for a cat is under the couch. It was an autumn Saturday morning. Mom had to go into town for a meeting. Dad said he would take the two friends to the toy store. That way they could all have a trip into the city. It wasn't long before everyone was dressed. Katie and Orbie made sure Chance had enough food and water, as they were not going to be back until the evening. Katie was sure that Chance wanted to come, but Dad told her that Chance would much rather snooze on the couch and go for a car ride. And I think Dad was right, because even as they discussed it, Chance slipped under the couch and stayed there. Katie and Orbie both brought their backpacks. They each had a teddy and a sweater in case it got cool, and a little wallet with some of their savings in it. Katie lifted her backpack onto her shoulders. Orbie did too, but he swung it so hard, it spun him around in a circle. In the car, Mom and Dad talked about parking places. That seemed really boring, but when they got into the city, Katie and Orbie realized why. There were cars everywhere. Some honked their horns and some were parking at the side of the road. Dad asked everyone to help him find a place to park their car. Katie found one, but it was actually a space for a fire hydrant. You couldn't park there because if there was ever a fire truck would need to get to the hydrant for water. Mom found one too, but it turned out to be a loading zone. Only trucks making deliveries were allowed to park there. Trucks often brought big boxes full of heavy things, so they needed to park at a special door close to the stores and offices. They all looked as hard as they could, and it seemed pretty hopeless for a while, until Orbie tooted that he saw one ahead. Dad turned on his signal to tell the cars behind him that he was going to turn, and in they went. It was a perfect place with a parking meter that would let them stay for a long time. When they had parked the car, Mom grabbed her briefcase, gave kisses all around, and shot off to her meeting. Dad let Katie and Orbie put some coins in the meter, and they were off. Orbie noticed that the street was noisy. Machines were fixing the road, and some were working on a construction site. There were car horns and people noises. Orbie thought of their backyard. It was a lot quieter than the city street. It was just about that very moment when Orbie heard something else. In fact, Katie heard it too. They both stopped Dad from walking so they could figure out where it was coming from. It seemed to be music, and it seemed to be nearby. Dad pointed to a crowd. He told the friends he was pretty sure it was coming from over in that direction. Orbie wanted to race ahead, but Dad held his hand tightly and reminded him, with a big smile, that when they were downtown, they had to stay together. So together, they went off to investigate. The music was bouncy and jazzy. Katie and Orbie could feel their feet wanting to dance. Of course, all they could see were the backs of a lot of grown-ups and nothing that was making music. Dad squeezed into the crowd and strained to see. Then he told Katie and Orbie they were going to love this. There were Buskers. Well, Orbie did a little dance of joy. Buskers, he tooted. Katie tapped him on the shoulder and asked him what Buskers were, and Orbie stopped. He didn't know. At that moment, Katie felt herself being lifted up in the air, and as Dad held her up, she could finally see what Buskers were. In the center of all of the people were two boys and a girl. The girl was playing a guitar, one boy was playing a saxophone, and the other played drums. Their band was set up right in the middle of the street. Katie could see people walk up to them and walk back. As Dad held Orbie up for a look, Katie asked what they were doing. And Dad explained that the musicians were entertaining the people on the street. If they liked the performance, people could put coins in the guitar case to let them know. That was how Buskers made money. Orbie rocked and bopped up in Dad's arms, and the musicians must have seen him. They called to Katie and Orbie to come forward so they could join the band. The crowd of people made a path, and Dad, Katie, and Orbie squeezed through to the front. When they got up close, Katie and Orbie suddenly felt a little shy. But Dad nodded that it was all right. Orbie stood behind Katie. It seemed that there were a lot of people looking right at him. Then the band played a bouncy kind of song, and Orbie couldn't help it. His feet just wanted to dance. Soon everybody in the crowd, including Katie, was clapping to the beat. Orbie had so much fun, he danced and twirled and leapt. He was magnificent. One of the buskers gave Katie a tambourine, and she made it jingle and jangle in time to the music. Now Orbie was dancing all around the circle and doing some really fancy moves. At the end of the song, the crowd clapped. Then the girl asked Orbie to take a bow, too. Orbie turned and looked at all the people. I have to say that he had almost forgotten about them because he was really enjoying the music. The crowd was looking at him and began clapping again, and Orbie bowed to everybody with a very low bow. Then Dad held out a big coin. As the band started the next song, Orbie danced right up and popped the coin into the guitar case. The musicians gave him great big smiles. Katie and Orbie loved the Buskers. They had a great time at the toy store, too. But when they met Mom after her meeting, it was the Buskers Katie and Orbie told her about with great delight. Perhaps one day when you go into the city, you'll see some Buskers, too. Maybe you'll have a small coin to put in their guitar cases. That way they'll know that you like their music. And I'm very sure that you will.